Hello, this is John Monson with Rural Ruckus Radio and Podcast. Back again for another episode. This time, we'll be talking to Chris Gartner from Compeer Financial. And Chris, good to have you. Glad that you're here. Anyways, we have talked over the years about the great things that we do at Compeer related to home mortgages and working with homeowners and so on. Let's first introduce yourself, your role, and then let's talk a little bit about how Compeer is able to serve homeowners.
Sure. So I'm Chris Gartner. Been here at Compeer in Legacy AgStar for almost 22 years now. Mortgage loan officer serving Southeast Minnesota, working primarily with home buyers, home construction loans, hobby farms, recreational land is my forte, if you will. So
okay, good. So things have been on the horizon. The market looks like what to you right now, Chris?
I think there's still opportunity there. It's not because of low interest rates. It's just that life happens and people need to move, and you need to keep moving with them in whatever stage of life they're in. So whether that be downsizing, upsizing, building, all those kind of things that kind of come with the home mortgage industry.
Yeah. So you look at that space, there's a lot of opportunity today. We realize that interest rates aren't necessarily cooperating as they should, but homeowners don't sit still.
Right.
Their dreams change, their visions change. Yep. How does Compeer follow, its clients, through that navigation, that journey of life?
Sure. I think, it starts with the first-time home buyer. That's phase one, and that looks a lot different over the years. That age of that first-time home buyer has increased. And so one of the things that we've done that is unique for, I think, serving our market is we created a first-time home buyer program. What's special about that is that, that borrower may not have had a chance to develop a credit score. And so we give them a credit score if they meet the other variables. We'll work with that. Yeah. It's about no down payment because, again, that's always a barrier of trying to get into that home. And so, being able to, do a no down payment, maybe not a credit score, first time home buyer program has been a huge lift for people in our territory and for across Compeer in trying to get people into homes.
Yeah, that's actually huge news, right? Really. I mean, I don't think there's probably many in this space that can say no credit score, no down payment, right, and get you into a home as a starter home. That's pretty important. And this is primarily in rural areas, right? I mean, give us a little definition around where you're able to do these things.
So how we define rural in our space is anything in the country, and if you are in city limits, the population is less than 2,500, and that's considered rural.
Okay, so in anything rural space, like out in the country, that'll work.
Yep.
Small towns of 2,500 and under, that'll work ultimately.
Yep. So
why is there a limit, by the way, can I ask?
So that's kind of our charter developed by the Farm Credit Administration to serve rural America. And many, many years ago, that's how they defined what rural is. And we'd like to see that updated through legislation, but that's the framework that we're working in.
Right. So it's important for anybody who's listening or those who are influencers to understand, I think, the limitation, but also the opportunity in a changing marketplace that should be updated more than likely. Hopefully maybe in a farm bill or maybe another farm bill after this one. We don't know, I guess, will happen. But so hopefully that'll occur. So you see a lot of homeowners who have been helped by this program. Do you have any stories of any clients who have sort of been through this process so far with a zero down payment and what it's been like for them?
Yeah, so one of the stories I'm most proud of is it's a multi-generational story that starts with aging parents on the farm ready to move into maybe more of a single level home in the city. And the evolution of that and the three families that are involved with that is the grandparents moving into town. Their children now want to move out to the hobby farm that they grew up on and do those things that they've wanted to do and leave their home in town to do this and creating an opportunity for their son to utilize this first-time home buyer program because he was brand new, out of lineman school, didn't have a chance to really save up money, but again, back to life happens, that the time was now, and he was able to utilize that program and use his grandparent to co-sign to help him accomplish that, so the next family could do theirs, so the next family could do their piece, which is really kind of fun to work with.
Yeah. So I can recall when I started with Compeer, would have been more than 9 years ago now. On July 1st, I remember Matt Ginder, executive at Compeer, saying, "We measure success in generations."
Yeah,
that's a perfect example of that.
Sure is. Yeah, and if you stick around long enough, and I've been thankful to be able to do that, you get that next generation, and those experiences get passed to the next one, and so on and so forth. So that's fun. I don't know how many more turns I have left in me, but I'm going strong. So
yeah, nobody's guaranteed anything.
Right.
I understand all that too, but you're in a marketplace that's challenging for sure, given the interest rates. You have some limitation and some restriction that you see right now, but you have good client stories where people are able to follow generation after generation and be able to obtain some of the services that Compeer offers. And there's more. I mean, we see farmers out there who live on the land, and they might move into town.
Right.
And what if they move into a town over 2,500? Then what happens? And they're clients of Compeer. Anything we can do there?
So we have what's called excess capacity relationship with an outside lender that we can use in those scenarios. There is no connection between Compeer and that lender. We're just a conduit to help them move into it. I would say that's one option. Another, maybe more prevalent option, is we partner a lot with banks and credit unions because they can't necessarily do what we do in the rural space. It acts as a referral partnership that we work with them, that we help assist their clients who have that more rural need, that they don't really have the products and knowledge and expertise. And likewise, if it's something that makes more sense to refer it to someone at our local bank or credit union to work with, it goes one of two ways. So.
Right. That makes a whole bunch of sense.
Yeah.
Now, so how many years have you been around at Compeer?
22.
22.
Yeah.
So we started pretty close to around the same time. But over that time, you've been involved with Compeer Home or EggStar for how long were you doing this kind of work?
In this space, roughly 20 years.
Okay.
I first started as an appraiser and did that for a couple of years, but over the course of EggStar and Compeer, I was a retail loan officer like I am today. Had some management roles, did some correspondent lending, had some leadership roles, and I'm kind of made full circle into my retail role again. So,
yeah, exactly. And so how much has this changed in what you're doing today in serving the market from in the past when you began?
I think that the competition is way different. This is pre-Dodd-Frank. That's a term that and mortgage crisis and the meltdown and all that kind of stuff. So I've been through those times where it was pretty willy-nilly and crazy programs to get people into loans, like no income, no assets, all that kind of stuff, whatever. So I've kind of seen and evolved through that. And there are a lot of, that's one thing. It used to be very bank heavy, mortgage driven, whereas now it's independent mortgage bankers drives the bus, so to speak, on the volume that you see across the country. They're the more prevalent generator than maybe that bank or credit union once was. So those are two big things that stand out to me.
Yeah, it's really, it has changed over time. Now you have the zero down payment program as well, which helps people get started. That's sort of something pretty new and pretty significant. Very important news, I think, from Compeer. But you've kind of been through it and done it. And I think the team is pretty diversified in age and experience. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I would say, there's a handful of us that have been in this space, for 20 some years, whatever, but we got a lot of young, up and coming loan officers that are doing a fantastic job and making great inways into their communities.
So what's the total territory that you can serve?
For Compeer is really Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois in a very general sense, not all parts of it, but we're very used to those states. And when we step out of those states, we might ask for concurrence with another local neighboring farm credit to assist them, or like I mentioned before, that excess capacity where we go outside of Compeer to use a lender to help somebody across the United States is another path of helping somebody.
So you work with banks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compeer is known to work with banks, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Well, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
As I've matured in my role over the years, it's not the competition. So to speak, it's more so it's about relationships and how people can help one another. And you develop that trust that I'm here to help. And I understand that, yes, we might have the same client, and yes, it might go one way or another. Again, mostly relationship driven or rate driven or whatever the case may be, but we really do value those relationships, and we consider ourselves the perfect referral source for them because we aren't a bank. We're not looking to grow checking and savings deposits. Because of that, that's a safer referral to send it to us, where I can be that solution for that need and not worry about losing their banking relationship.
Right. That's really important to understand. Well, Chris, there's a lot that you're doing. You're in a really good space. This really does help promote rural, and this show has been, always will be, about providing capital to rural communities in new and innovative ways that are a little bit different, challenge people's thinking so that they can understand that this is not about status quo. It's not about just doing it our way or our space, or it's, we own this territory, we need other people's thought. This is a team sport. It always has been.
Right.
And you've exhibited that for sure in your career, and you've exhibited that, I think, through the Compeer home model as well. And I think that will always be the case with Compeer. It's what sets it apart, is they're always looking for that collaboration. Would you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I hope that continues on for a long time, because that's what allows everybody to get stronger, and that's how you provide capital to rural America.
Right.
Jace Wagner, CEO of Compeer, calls it the Rural America Capital Team. And everybody's a part of it. Even those who are policymakers, they're a part of it as well.
Right.
So that's a really important element of what we're trying to promote here, is how we can work together and bring capital in new and innovative ways. And you just demonstrated today how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and be able to talk about it a little bit.
We had to drive, about 10 miles to get here, didn't we?
That's right.
Yeah, we live in the same town, which is kind of fun.
Yep.
Actually, so anyways, appreciate you taking the time to join us on the Rural Ruckus podcast today.
Yep.
And best of luck to you and to Compeer doing this.
All right.
I'm glad that you are. And anyways, you take care of yourself. And this is John Monson with Rural Ruckus podcast signing off. We'll talk to you next time.